a lot of time he will like punch me, kick me. It's not those like normal kick and punches. So like he used to work in a construction area. So he will wear like boots, like those hard boots to really kick and punch. There are times where like I bleed and stuff like that. He said that, hey, I saw a vision of the devil was laughing at me right in front of my face, telling me that, you see, I told you, you are going to lose this soul. So my dad is like, okay, like you want to go to church, right? Sure. But no allowance on the weekend because you are Christian. I don't fit Christian. So the first time they actually warned me for going to church because they're just upset the religion and stuff. At that point, I was going through 3 years of like depression. I was admitted to hospital once. So I told my counselor, hey, like I was abused in a way. So she actually like asked me, hey, why not you call the police? I remember that night, the police actually came, like while I was sleeping. The police actually came with a ruler. They were like measuring like a scar on my arm. But I told them that like, yeah, very stressed and stuff like that lah. So they said, okay, like, do you want to sue your family? I came from a Buddhist family. So I think like in my family, we have two spectrum of worshippers. So one is Thai gods and one is like just Topekong and stuff like that. So since young, I don't think that my family member forced me to go to church, no, go to like temples and all this thing. But I've never like have like opportunity to like go to church lah. But my grandma will always make me go and pray with them at temples and all this thing. So I think they are quite strict, right? About like, like we are Buddhist, so we only worship Buddhist God. As I grow older, I don't really fancy much about like going to temple or this thing because of the smell and everything like that. Yeah, but I just follow suit anyways because like I mean that's part of the culture. I remember the first time when I encounter like going to like Christian like church service and all this thing. I think it was something like special for me because like you do not have to do what the Buddhism do, like hold joss sticks and like pray and all this thing. But like I think the thing that like caught my attention is like the people there. The people are all really nice and yeah, it just feels very special for me when I'm there. But how I came to know about like Christianity is during like school time, like in secondary school, when I was invited by a group of like students lah. I was in the library like one day, and they actually invited me for some like an outreach event in the school. So at first I didn't know they are a group of Christian. Actually, they are like, to me they are like, okay, normal people. They dress like nicely and uniform and all this. But I think after that, when they actually like share with me that hey, they are actually from church and stuff like that. So I was like, oh okay, like actually they're quite nice people. That was the first time where like I was. So they told me, hey, like I want to invite you to church. Like, do you want to come? Yeah, so I think I don't really have much thought about going to church because I think since young, like we're in a Buddhist family, right? They don't really have like a concept like, like you cannot go to church because I think they never thought that I would ever step into a church because of like the people I'm around with. So I think the first time when I was being like told that, hey, going to church is something like that. Actually, like my family member found out that I'm actually going to church lah. Yeah, so I think they were quite upset because I think, like I shared earlier on, like to them it's like the concept of like a Buddhist family and a Christian doesn't associate together because like we worship different gods. Yeah, and the concept of like Jesus and everything like that lah. So I think this whole journey of like going to church like is kind of a tough one for me. Yeah, I never thought that like going to church is so hard. Yeah, because like going to temple is quite easy because like you just follow the family and stuff like that. So I think when my family member found out that like I was going to church, they actually were quite upset because they're thinking that like, hey, how come you are going to church and stuff like that lah. Yeah, because since young, right, I was born in like a family where like my dad is kind of like an alcoholic. He's quite abusive. So like the standard of abusive, no, I won't say that like it's like those like abusive kind of abusive, but because once he's drunk, he will start to get very agitated with me and stuff like that. A lot of time he will like punch me, like kick me. Yeah, so it's not those like normal kick and punches. So like he used to work in a construction area. So he will wear like boots, like those hard boots to really kick and punch. There are times where like I bleed and stuff like that. But I think to me, it's like I kind of like get used to it because like this is where I'm living in, and that's the only way I can like just live in the house because I have nowhere to go at that point. I think since young, like I think I'm quite a mischievous kid also lah. So like I'm not blaming my family member for like kicking me and like hitting me and all this thing. But I think as a child, like without a mom, I think you kind of grow up in a very different like way, yeah, compared to other people. And since I also grew up with my grandparents and all these things, so like I think sometimes like my grandparents can't really like stop me from doing something, you know, as a child, like being mischievous and stuff like that. So I think as I grew up, right, I became more like independent also, like because like I don't have my dads around, and then my grandparents, they are like working also. Yeah, so like most of the time I'm like with a helper. To me, it's like okay, like so I'm the boss of myself. You know, if I can make decisions on myself, like I feel that at the age of 5, maybe I'm already a grown-up girl, so I can make decisions. I don't have to like okay listen to what my ama akong say, or like what my family members say. So I think that kind of like make me more independent and to them a more disobedient child because of like the way I think, the way I carry myself and stuff like that. So I think their standard of like 乖 is like okay, you have to follow my instruction and everything. But to me, it's like why do I have to? Because I've been taking care of myself for the longest time I could imagine, and like who are you to tell me like what is the right or wrong thing to do? Yeah, though like I'm living with my auntie also. Like my auntie is quite strict with me actually. Like because she's like, oh, because you don't have a mom, so I'm like a mom to you. Yeah, so like she always like teach me like Chinese and all this. So she will always ensure that I do my homework, and then she give me like pocket money for school and all these things. But I think to me it's like okay, like yeah, sure. But then this inside of me, right, is like okay, I'm the stronger, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, so I think that kind of like make things really difficult for me, like because like my family's expectation and my own like way of like living my own life kind of like clashes lah. When they started knowing that I go to church, they actually warned me for going to church because they're just upset lah, the religion and stuff. So actually I stopped going for like around 6 months till I meet another group of Christian who really pursue me. I think like God really bring them to me at that point when I was really desperate, because I think at that point I was going through 3 years of like depression. Yeah, but it was like undiagnosed. But I was in school counseling also, but it doesn't help actually, because like each time when the more the counselor talk to me, the more I feel like okay, I'm more depressed. Yeah, and there are times where like I think I was admitted to hospital once. So I told my counselor, hey, you know, like I was abused in a way. So she actually like asked me, hey, why not you call the police? So that's when she brought me to the hospital. I remember that night, the police actually came like while I was sleeping. So so the funny thing about this whole hospitalization was that the police actually came with a ruler. They were like measuring like a scar on my arm. So hey, girl, like why you cut yourself like 3 centimeters? It's very long and it's gonna be very ugly when you like grow older. Yeah, but I told them that like yeah, I'm very stressed and stuff like that lah. So they said okay, like do you want to sue your family? So at that point I was like okay, like if my teacher tell me that I can do that, then I'll probably do that. Yeah, but I think the whole thing like has a turn, because I think the next day my uncle actually came and like visit me in the hospital. He actually begged me. He said that hey, like why do you want to do this to your dad, your family member? Because we didn't like, so he's trying to explain himself to me that like he didn't do this, like the family didn't do this to me to like harm me. Yeah, it's because like my disobedient and like how I don't like to them lah, like not 乖 to them. Yeah, so I think in the end I stopped that pursuit lah, because I mean I don't know what it takes to like go to the court and everything. I was afraid also at that point, so the whole thing stopped for a while. So like after like a few months later, where I met another group of Christian, right, I joined them again lah for their events and stuff like that. That's when the breakthrough came, and one of the leader actually spoke to me, said, hey, you know, like can I encourage you to like join us for service? At that point I was hesitant because I know that like if you think about it, like the history is gonna repeat on its own again, right? Like yeah, like the history gonna repeat on its own, and then I'm gonna be kicked out of the house, and things gonna be the same again. But I think at that point, I wasn't thinking too much. Yeah, the breakthrough happens on one on a Sunday when I was sleeping. Then I was supposed to wake up for service. Then I'm not too sure like how I am going for church service because most of the time last time when I need to go for services, right, I actually lied about like going for tuition and all this thing. So that day I decided that maybe it's time for me not to lie and just speak the truth. Yeah, so after when I spoke to my grandma about hey, like Amma, I want to go to service. Yeah, the reaction happens like, oh, like you shouldn't do that, blah blah blah. And my grandpa actually also tried to stop me. And at that point actually my dad was at home too. Yeah, but my dad was like out somewhere, going out somewhere, yeah. So I called my cell leader. I said, hey, like I'm probably not going to church like this week because I doubt so I could do that. And I remember myself crying like really like bitterly, like weeping, that kind. And I think my leader was praying for me like on the phone and stuff like that. Then after she hung down the phone, she actually texted me. She said that, hey, I saw a vision of the devil was laughing at me right in front of my face, telling me that, you see, I told you, you are going to lose this soul, because of like what happened at home. And after I felt that, right, I felt like, wow, like, okay, as a young Christian, that doesn't like speak to me much, but I was just like, wow, like, like my leader saw a devil laughing at her and stuff like that. And I think after that, my leader actually told me, like, ask me a question that makes, like, allows me to make a right decision, lah. Like, do you really want to come to church and know God? So I think that was the turning point where I told myself that, yeah, I really see myself like differently when I come to church and come to know God than going to temple. So I said, okay, why not like just do it, right? And then my leader actually encouraged me, like, if there's a will, then there will be a way for you. If that's your desire to come and know God, then God will make a way for you at this point. So I remember like myself going to the toilet and I was okay, I'll just bathe and change and just go. That whole episode was quite crazy because when I stepped out of the house, the first thing my grandparent told me was, okay, like if you have decided to get out of the house, then you're not going to come back. So my decision was, okay, sure. Like, I do not know like where the confidence come from lah. At that point when he said, okay, you're gonna come back, I said, okay, yeah, sure. So I took my bag and I didn't even bring like any clothes or anything. I was like, okay, yeah, sure, I'm gonna go out, yeah, that kind. And I just left and went to church. Yeah, but I think that night, God works lah. Yeah, so I think God sent like 3 of my church leaders to bring me home. I think at that point, I was really touched because like I felt like it's my problem for like wanting to go to church. But then like my 3 leaders has to get persecuted by my family member, like with like all the vulgarities and all this thing. But I think at that point also I see how God works because my grandma made this like the most golden statement that she can ever make in her whole life, that, oh, like if you guys said that like this God that you guys worship can actually change my granddaughter's life, which we can't do anything about her life, like we can't change her because she's like that, then like by all means go to church, like just by all means go. Yeah, so I think that was the changing point of my life. So that night was kind of like crazy because like I have 3 different leaders speaking to 3 different group of people. So like one of them speak to my grandpa, one of them speak to my dad, and the other one speak to my grandma. So I think they were all trying very hard to convince them that like, hey, like I'm gonna bring your granddaughter to become a better person. Yeah, trying to convince them about this whole thing about Jesus. Or maybe at the same time trying to share the gospel, so I'm not too sure. But I think to me at that point, I was like, okay, like I'm not too sure what is going to happen, but then I'm just going to like trust my cell leader because at this point I could only trust them. So I think after the whole conversation, like I shared, right, like my grandma said, okay, like if Jesus can, like you all say Jesus can help to change someone's life, then by all means go ahead. I think at that point it was a good start, but then it was not an easy start also because I think after that, right, I went to stay with my dad. My dad is kind of like a violent person. So like every time when I need to talk to him, I feel like I need to, like it's like a slave speaking to a master kind of concept. So it's like if I need to ask for an extra allowance, even if like, let's say just a $1 kind of concept, right, he will start getting really angry, and then he will start cursing and like, and stuff like that. So to me, it's like, okay, like, it's really hard for me, just like doing this, because most of the time, like Saturdays, Sundays, I used to attend service, like 4 services a week, like for cell group, for like prayer meet, for youth service and Sunday services. So my dad is like, okay, like you want to go to church, right? Sure. But no allowance on the weekend because you are Christian. I don't fit Christian. So like he encouraged, like, okay, like why not you go and work so you can have your own money, then you can go and feed yourself by all means and stuff like that. So I think I started working like at the age of like Sec 3. Yeah, so I was quite happy that like I managed to like work and then like feed myself along the way and stuff like that. But then before that, right, actually when I was staying with my dad, I actually need to really, really like stuff myself to like have that like, to keep the amount of money that he gave me, just so that like I can attend services. So I think like I was really like struggling, but I told myself, okay, like for God, right, I will just eat lesser. Yeah, so there are times where like I'm trying to save like EZ-Link card money, so I'll walk from home to my school. So like I stay in Hougang last time, so my school is like at Serangoon Garden, so it's like a 5-6. Okay, so if you want to leave from home to school, it's like 1.5 hour. So I just walk in the morning to school, and I walk back home from school, just so that I can save that maybe $2 for an EZ-Link card, so I can go to church on a Sunday and Saturday. So I think that was kind of a fun journey, because like, I feel like, though it's fun, because like you work hard to go to church yourself, and that satisfies me, that kind of thing. Yeah, but I think one of the things that like my dad taught me also is that like actually he doesn't want me to attend like prayer meetings, which like my leader encourages me to. Yeah, I really struggle like to ask him for like extra services, because to him it's like, okay, Sunday is for you to go to church. Other than that, you don't think about it. Yeah. So I think like the breakthrough happens when one of the days where like I was involved in one of the like a skit, kind of like graduation skit for a Sunday school thing. I told my dad, hey pa, like I'm gonna go and I'll be back home by 7. Yeah, because I need to go and practice. I'm the main lead and something. Okay, which is true. Okay, I was like the main role and I have to be there to practice and stuff. So I think around like 6:50, we're already done with the like practice. So then here comes my cell leader. Hey, like today got prayer meeting. Why not you go for the prayer meeting? I said, oh, actually my dad, I mean, she actually knows that like my dad has actually limited me from going to services. But then she just said, why not I challenge you to go for prayer meeting? Yeah, so she's the same cell leader who challenges me to go for service the first time. So I said, okay, let me try to talk to my dad. Like praying really hard that my dad would allow. So I told my dad, like, is it okay if like I attend the prayer meet and I'll be back home by like 10 o'clock? So I think like quite amazingly, so that night my dad actually said, okay lah, you go lor, you just come back by 10. So I was like, wow, like actually so easy, like all you need to do is just open your mouth and ask, that kind of thing. So I think from then on, like that was a breakthrough. So like because that practice took like around like a few weeks. So every week I have to go back and practice. So like after that week, right, I didn't ask him anymore. So after I go for like prep, right, I will just go for the prayer meeting. Yeah. So I think then from then on, right, I've been going for prayer meeting. Then I think like slowly, right, I go for like services, then to prayer meeting, then to cell group, then to like everything. So like the 4 times services. Yeah. So without any like it kind of like my dad kind of like, okay, give up. That kind of thing. Yeah. Though I didn't like beg him to let me go and stuff like that. I guess also because like I earn my own allowance and stuff like that. So I didn't like really bother him with money and stuff. So he kind of like, okay, like if you want to go, then so be it. Yeah. So I started going for like most of the services. My family, my dad is quite violent, and then like maybe to them, cause I'm a mischievous kid, right? So I think they have a certain standard of like a good girl and a bad person. So I think like to them, I'm always like the mischievous one. Yeah, they always have to discipline me and all these things. So I think I tend to get more like caning and hitting and punching a lot from my dad and my family member. So I think since young, right, it kind of like make me feel like I hate them. Yeah, so like the relationship is like, okay, I have no choice because I'm living in their house. I just have to tahan, right? And all this thing happens like until when, so I just endure all this thing until when I reached 21. when I finally like has a more stable job, then I knew that what happened was that there's once like I was really enough of my like family member, because each time, right, when I because I stayed with my grandma back then, so like every time when I have a quarrel with my grandma, my dad will know and I will get it. Yeah, so my dad likes to like suddenly in the night, right, come into my room and then start pulling me out of the bed and then just kick and punch, because like, oh, how can you be rude to ama and all this. But then because my grandma gave me a lot of stress, because I was already working, so like imagine like working adult, you like after work you're tired, all this thing, but then you have like a broken radio, just cannot stop and all this, and you just have to fight back, right? You were, oh, can you just shut up and all this thing. So I guess at the part I was rude also to my grandma, because trying to like stop her from talking and all this thing. So each time when I have like such emotion and commercial with my grandma, I will get it from my dad. As I grow older, I feel like this kind of feeling is not very nice, because you can just imagine like suddenly like you got attacked in the night. Yeah, and you know that you'll be attacked in the night. That kind of fear that you're living. And I really don't like that feeling of being like sudden attack kind of thing. So I tell myself that, okay, like once I'm stable in my job, all this thing, I want to get a place to stay so that I don't live under them and get stressed and all this thing. Yeah, so I think like there's once something went bad at home with my grandma again. Then my dad threatened me, why not you just move out of the house, right? Because like you keep causing problem and all this thing. So I told my dad, okay, why not you give me some time to have like a stable job first, then I will leave the house. So I think my dad has been like trying to threaten me lah about like, okay, leave the house, leave the house. So until one day I really cannot take it anymore, because that fear in me where suddenly you cannot sleep well, you know. It's like you are sleeping but your heart is like, okay, did you do anything wrong today? Because if you do, then tonight you're gonna get it. So every night I'm living in fear, and then the next day I have to work and all this thing. I can't even sleep. One Friday when I work here, started working in St. Hilda's, I was taking care of an uncle, like the family member lah. So after that, the uncle passed away. So I was just having a talk with the daughter. I said that, you know, like I've been going through a lot of like stress and all this thing, because yeah, life is just bad for me lah at this point. Even at the age of 21, your dad just have to kick you and punch you at this point. So she's like, oh, why not you stay with me? That's when I started staying with her. Yeah, so I remember like that day when I just finished my church camp, like a leadership camp. So I went home. I told my grandma already prior to that, because I already spoke to the auntie. So I have the gut to say, hey, I tell you I'm leaving the house. Right? So my grandma thought that I was just joking, because at this point with my salary, right, renting out a house, right, is very hard. It's like at least like 500, 600. But at that point, I don't think that my pay is enough to pay all this thing. Yeah, and so when I spoke to the auntie, she actually really, really nice to me. So she's like, okay, I'm going to rent you this amount. It's really lower than like market price. I was like, oh really? Are you sure? She's like, yeah, it's okay. I mean, anyway, I don't need the money. I just need company. So I said, okay, like, let me do that. So I went home. So I told my grandma, like, I challenged her. I said, it's okay. I'm going to leave the house soon. Just give me 1 more week. I will leave the house. So I think after that church leadership camp, I actually went back home. I really slowly packing with it actually. I've been like slowly packing, bringing things to the house. So I think that Sunday, after the camp, I went back home. I just took whatever I left and I left. So my grandma told me, you sure you're leaving? I'm like, yeah. So she was really shocked, because I haven't been telling her that I'm leaving, like really leaving, where I'm leaving. But I think she realized that, hey, I've been taking things and stuff like that. So I think my grandma was really shocked because I did it. So my grandma challenged me, okay, I'm very sure in 3 months' time you will come back again, because nobody can stand you, you know, something like that. So I was like, okay, it's fine, yeah. So I left the house. Then my dad didn't realize I left the house after 2 weeks. So my dad was really like surprised and upset, like, how come you leave the house and you didn't tell me? So I told him, I said, you asked me to leave the house, right? So I left the house. So I think the whole thing has its turn when one day I was just like praying. I was telling God, like, I'm very sure that you want me to reconcile with my family member, but then how am I going to do it? Because I'm out of the house now. But then I felt that at that point, leaving the house is not a bad solution. Yeah, sometimes you think, oh, like we leave the house, then like things gonna get bad and all this thing. But you know, in my situation, things gets better. You know, sometimes not staying together has lesser conflict. Yeah. So I was like, okay, like, so I was like out for the house for a while. Then until one day, so just to like give you a like a background a bit, each time when I meet my dad, right, like during especially Chinese New Year, we will have like a kung fu fighting moment. So my dad will say something that I don't like it, and I will start to fight with my dad. And my dad will start to use parang and whatever, and we will have a fight at home during Chinese New Year. So I think the breakthrough happens that day when I asked God, I said, God, like if let's say we are not staying together, how are we gonna have like breakthrough and all this thing? Then like how are you gonna work lah when I'm not near them to do all this thing? So I think that one Chinese New Year, I was at home. So I felt like God was telling me that, hey, talk to your dad properly. Even if he triggers you, talk to him properly. So I remember sitting down with my dad, and then I was using my iPad. Then my dad, because my dad will make chances to like swan me and everything, you know. So at that point I was showing him, okay, so I made a conversation here. I said, hey pa, you see like I got a new iPad and I went to Thailand recently. So if at this point you should start thinking that my dad is going to like swan me and everything already. But my dad said, oh really, you went Thailand? Then he started to have a conversation with me, you know. I was like, oh wow, this is the first time in my life that we don't have World War III, you know, like we sit beside each other, we talk properly to each other. Yeah, and then from then on, like we just talk to each other properly. And we don't really fight. We don't fight. We don't like quarrel. Because last time when my dad called me, I will have heart attack. Because my dad will call me, my dad speaks this way. Hello! So like every time when you see his number appear on your phone, your heart start pumping already. But then like ever since I stay out of the house, and honestly, if every time when I share my testimony, when people ask me like, hey, how like your relationship or dad changed, I cannot tell them. I say actually I never do anything. I just tell God, I want to reconcile with my family, and you just have to help me. I would also believe that like it takes two hands to clap also. God wants to help you. You have to make effort to be nice, you know, talk to them properly. If he needs help, you still help. Yeah, because since young, right, I always have a lot of grudge on him and stuff like that. I feel that like if I can kill him, I will do it. Like why would I want to help him? But every time when he needs help at his office, like at his restaurant, when he asks me for help, I'll just go. Like though I see him, I'll still feel scared and like irritating. But I feel like that's the way to show that I'm loving him, and he can change towards his relation, like change in his like attitude or all this thing. I will do it, even to apologize, even if I need to. Yeah, even though I think that he don't deserve it, I will still think, okay, I will apologize for the sake of like, I know God is trying to like do something in this family. God is trying to reconcile like the situation and relationship. So if God wants to do it, you have to partner with God to do it, and not let God do it and then you just like, you know, go another way. So I think that's how my relationship with my dad changed after a while, and with my family also. Yeah, and also like my auntie also, like I think she baptized like last year. So she's one of those auntie that like also last time like say, hey, like how will you go to church? Yeah, but then after that I think somehow somewhere like she met a Christian boyfriend, then she went to work in a Salvation Army, and then after that she went to chapel, and then she just convert herself, and then now she baptized, and then now she goes to church. So I was quite amazed because like I think I could see God trying to do something like in the house. Yeah, like though I don't really do a lot of things, I was like, okay, God, like okay lah, if you want to do, you do. You know what, if you need my help to do, like if you need me to do anything, I will just do it. Yeah, like okay, if you want me to talk properly, I'll talk properly, I'll try to control, you know, that kind of thing. So I think like the relationship changed like a few years back, like 3-4 years back, after I left the house. Then I was out of the house for a while, then miraculously it has changed. Yeah, so if you ask me what I do, I never do anything. I think it's just glory to God. Yeah. So the relationship now is like, if you ask me now if I love my dad, I love him, but there's still pain in the love lah. But I think like I learned to love even though it's hard and it's like difficult. Like it's really hard lah. Like it's difficult, and like I don't know what other words can describe that, but like I feel like I tried. Yeah, and I think that matters. Like I mean, God will work on his own when I try my best and want to do it also. Yeah, I tried bringing my sister to church. My sister was in church for around a year, and then she left because of her O-level. Then, but I remember when my sister was young, my dad ever told me this: if you want to bring our sister to church, then over my dead body. But my sister came for a while. Then after that, my dad told me also, if you want grandma to go to church, then over my dead body. Though my grandma hasn't come to church, but my grandma is open to us being Christian. Because when I was a Christian, I was being like, I won't say persecuted lah. I was like being like blamed and like, oh, Christians shouldn't eat with Buddhists and whatever not. But then my auntie now become a Christian. So my grandma has to accept the fact that like her own daughter has become a Christian, which I think is a good start because like I might not be the best person of platform to like, you know, to like outreach to her, but my auntie will be. I'm pretty sure about it. And like and when my grandma sees the change in me, she will know that, okay, like many years ago when she said that, hey, like if this Jesus can change my granddaughter, then so be it, right? Proves at this point, then yeah, I mean, why not? If I were to think back about this whole, like, for the past 31 years of my life, going through like family situation, leaving church, going through depression, coming back to church again, and used to be someone who has no confidence to someone with confidence in Christ. If I were to choose the life again, like I always think to myself, if I could choose my life once again to like what I want to experience again as a second chance, I would still choose the same life again. I feel that it's not a bad life after all. Yeah. I feel that if there isn't any, like, if you don't go through any like tough time, you will never know how tough you can be. And especially having like God, Christ as the strength of your life. Yeah. And if everything is smooth, then sometimes you will think that you don't need God. Right? But to me, I learned one thing about going through like this life is that like God is still God. Yeah. And we can never know what God has planned ahead of us. Like, you know, God, why do you want to let me go through pain, go through breakups and whatever? But all I can know is that God loves me so much. Yeah. And for someone like me, God can find me. Then what more about others who, like I think the Bible says, right, God loves everyone even when we are still sinners, and that is a no doubt. Yeah, when I look into my life, when I look at myself, wow, like God, my life is bad. Like, of course there are people that are worse, but you know, as a person who live this life, it's bad, right? But it's never bad enough because of what Christ died for me on the cross. I think one of the verse that I hold on really dearly is also like I think it's Ephesians. Yeah, it's by grace that I'm saved. Yeah, so that no man can boast about like what we do. Yeah. And I think I hold that very dearly because I know like who I am today, right? It's not because I can do a lot of things, because I'm perfect, because I come from a perfect family, but it's because of who God is. Yeah, and I think I also learned that like loving other people, right, takes effort also. I remember I have this like really cool quote that I have before, but I can't really remember it anymore. It's really talking about like love is a choice. Yeah, and if today I choose to love, right, it's not because like, oh, like I have the powerful love in the world. I think I ever shared before, right, if I'm not a Christian now, I would have like punched everybody on the floor and everybody just hurt because of me. But because of who God is in my life, yeah, I might be still going through tough times and all this thing, but I can hold on to Christ, which is the ultimate source of life and hope. So I think if I were to give encouragement, if I were to like share something with others that are going through the same thing as me, I would say that like yeah, give yourself a second chance with God. Yeah, it's like sometimes we might not see what God is doing in our life, but that doesn't mean that God is not doing something in your life. Yeah, it's just that as human, we cannot fathom what God can do in your life. Yeah, you just have to trust God. You just have to believe that, you know, He loves you, and just cling on to the cross.